That's the force.
And the external confirmation of this really came with Edward Snowden's revelations a decade ago.
That's when it became undeniable. He proved the existence of a massive global surveillance apparatus run by corporate and state actors that collects data on, well, on everything.
Emails, chats, search queries, movements, financial activity.
Everything.
That pervasive data collection alone is terrifying. But now, introduce the factor of the implanted, inescapable chip.
The surveillance becomes total. The chip is the ultimate digital anchor. It can't be turned off, it can't be left behind or discarded like a smartphone.
It just generates a real-time record.
A real-time record of every location where it's scanned, every purchase, every minute you work, and potentially even continuous biometric and health data, all aggregated constantly, feeding a central infrastructure.
So if Foucault's prisoner internalized discipline, what's the practical behavioral consequence of this total real-time data indexation on the average person?
It is the systemic creation of the chilling effect. The mere possibility of total observation is more than enough to force conformity and self-censorship.
People learn to police their own online behavior.
Often unconsciously. They avoid searching for politically sensitive material, they self-censor their posts on social media, they're careful about who they contact or where they go.
They engage in continuous, subtle self-optimization.
They do. They're constantly asking themselves, will this activity negatively impact my social score, my credit rating, my algorithmic profile?
The goal becomes to appear linear, documented, and absolutely predictable.
In short, algorithm compatible. This preemptive self-monitoring means the system doesn't even need to punish very often. The threat of observation does the work for it.
And that's why Fusaro called it a cool neo-totalitarianism. The oppression is internalized and voluntary. This moves us beyond a technical critique and into the profound spiritual implications that are raised by the source material.
Right.
If the panopticon is built on an architecture of mistrust, what is the spiritual problem with that assumption?
The panopticon, and its digital version, is predicated on the assumption that humans are fundamentally untrustworthy and must be controlled.
Okay.
The source calls this an architecture of sin, because it lives off of and reinforces the anxiety that we are inherently likely to do wrong or deviate from the norm.
The logic is control. If I can't trust your inherent moral compass, I have to make your behavior measurable and sanctionable.
And the digital control system, by being all-seeing and all-indexing, creates this distorted image of the divine.
A distortion, a Zazer build.
A cold, calculating distortion of an all-seeing God. This secularized deity sees everything not out of love, but solely to administrate, not to heal, but to evaluate.
So it's present not as a source of closeness and understanding, but as an inescapable grid of surveillance.
For many people, this is already the psychological reality. God as the ultimate unforgiving surveillance camera, just waiting for a fault.
So how does the theological critique contrast that image with the biblical understanding of divine observation?
The contrast is in the telos, the purpose of the gaze.
Okay. Yeah.
The panopticon's purpose is administrative security and total control. The biblical perspective, when it says God sees into the heart, is fundamentally therapeutic and relational.
It's not a divine espionage system designed to scan profiles or score faults.
No.
It's about seeing deeper, not just more accurately.
Precisely. The purpose is not condemnation, but understanding the injured, disturbed, searching inner self that hides behind conformity in all these defensive strategies.
The divine gaze, ideally, is focused on relationship, healing, and reconciliation.
Not on building an administrative ledger of faults. So if we take this philosophical and theological critique seriously, we realize that digital panopticon is just fundamentally corrosive to the concept of human relational dignity.
We have to make this abstract threat concrete now by looking at the logical end result of total indexation, instant systematic sanction, and the eradication of anonymity.
And the sources do this with a hypothetical future, the day in the life of a man they call Herr M.
Right.
This scenario is designed to show how total indexation eliminates the lag time between dissent and punishment.
So Herr M wakes up, he tries to leave his apartment for work.
But the security scanner flashes red. Access denied. The system has registered that he spent the previous evening reading articles classified as anti-government or deviant.
And his social score has dropped below the acceptable threshold, freezing his chip for certain functions.
Right, so dissent is not met with an arrest warrant, but with instant digital isolation.
The sanction is administrative and immediate.
He has to spend critical time, maybe 10 minutes, on a forced automated consultation with an AI hotline.
A digital re-education session, essentially.
Exactly. Before the system begrudgingly grants him temporary access. Later in the day, he tries to watch a stream of a political opposition group.
And the screen just displays content unavailable.
This is the algorithmic application of shadow banning. The system filters his content based on his risk profile, effectively making him invisible to dissenters and dissent invisible to him.
But the system doesn't stop there. It proactively manages his social connections to make sure that his isolation is complete.
And that's the real chilling factor. He receives a summons for a follow-up consultation, and he knows what's coming.
He knows the session will involve pressure.
Maybe subtle, maybe overt, to sever specific contacts that the system has tracked via his chip protocol and his activity logs.
His entire existence, political reading, physical movement, economic transactions, social connections, it's all protocol.
Everything.
And the scenario ends with that profoundly cynical line, reflecting the psychological surrender. The smartest way to be a slave is to love your chains.
It really captures the system's success. It doesn't just control him, it induces this deep passivity and self-censored compliance.
Haremem internalizes the fear and decides that the most efficient way to survive is to just stop questioning the system and conform to the demands of the algorithm.
He gives up.
This systematic efficiency means one thing. Modern data systems make escape impossible for defined target groups. And the sources draw a critical historical comparison here, contrasting the logistical limitations of past regimes with modern technology.
Right. Historians who study the Holocaust have noted that before every act of annihilation, there was first an act of registration.
But the Nazi regime relied on laborious, paper-based processes, local informants,
And nascent technology like IBM punch cards to systematically register target populations. These systems were cumbersome, often incomplete, and they were subject to human error or resistance.
which allowed some people to go into hiding or escape the register entirely.
Yes.
But modern tools have eliminated those logistical hurdles. What does massive-scale algorithmic surveillance look like now?
It's ubiquitous and it's instantaneous. You start with biometrics. Facial recognition technology, like China's Sharp Eye system, allows authorities to find a single person in a crowd of 60,000 almost instantly.
You can't just merge into the mass anymore. Your face is your ID.
And even if you discard your smartphone, you're still trackable.
How so?
Your basic smartphone connectivity, even with the GPS manually deactivated, is trackable via the triangulation of cell towers and local AA or Bluetooth sensors.
So to truly live undercover requires this radical severance from modern civilization.
No banking, no utilities, no connected transport, which is virtually impossible if society relies on a chip-integrated infrastructure.
The real power, though, is the sheer analytic force that's applied to all this data.
That's the AI engine. Intelligence agencies reportedly collect billions of communication records every single day.
And AI pattern analysis sifts through that massive scale of data.
To predict behavior, identify anomalies, like someone suddenly stopping all digital activity, which itself is a flag for suspicious behavior, and draw complex connections between people that no human analyst could ever hope to process.
And the newest biometrics mean you can't even disguise your physical movement. The sources mention gait recognition.
That is the ultimate loss of physical anonymity. Gangart-Erkenen gait recognition. AI systems can identify individuals based purely on the unique biomechanical pattern of how they walk.
Even from a distance and at different angles.
You can wear a mask, you can change your clothes, you can run, but you cannot hide your movement pattern. The surveillance becomes seamless, lookenless.
And the ultimate danger of this total indexation, as the sources highlight, falls disproportionately on vulnerable minority groups.
It always does.
How are oppressive regimes already misusing existing digital means against populations like LGBTQIA+ persons?
This is where the technological system shifts from being a theoretical threat to an active weapon of persecution. Oppressive regimes are already leveraging digital means to target these communities.
The source gives an example from Egypt.
Yes, a harrowing one. Police there use dating and social apps like Grindr, setting up fake profiles, honeypots, to entrap and prosecute gay men.
And they use the chat logs and photos as evidence of illegal behavior.
Exactly.
So in a future of total chip-integrated tracking, the digital community that is so vital for safety and support becomes the primary liability.
It becomes the trap. For LGBTQIA+ communities, digital spaces are essential for organizing, for seeking support, for ensuring safety outside of hostile physical spaces.
But in a fully tracked future.
Any digital shadow, a visit to a specific forum, a coded interaction, Even an encrypted chat could be flagged, cross-referenced with your biometric ID and your movement data.
Which eliminates the possibility of private organization.
It effectively bans the community from existing safely, making organization impossible, and creating an environment of constant existential fear for already marginalized people.
The sources establish a very clear threat. Total indexation leads to perfect control, which is fundamentally incompatible with human freedom and dignity. But they pivot here, offering a powerful philosophical and legal defense, and it begins with the concept of menschenwürde, human dignity.
Right. The core ethical counterargument is anchored in this theological and philosophical principle that humans possess Unverfügbarkeit,
Non-disposability.
non-disposability. The core claim is that a human being is created as a subject, an end in itself, and not as a data object, a resource, or a means to an economic or state-controlled end.
So elaborate on what non-disposability means in this context.
It means no human should ever be completely measurable, quantifiable, or mastered for administrative purposes. Dignity requires a residue of mystery, a core self that remains outside the ledger.
The moment we can be fully quantified, predicted, and managed, we're degraded.
From subjects with inherent worth to mere data containers or administrative units within a larger machine.
And this connects directly to a classic philosophical contrast, the distinction between having and being.
The sources reference the tradition of Erich Fromm and Gabriel Marcel, contrasting haben, to have, with sein, to be.
Okay.
Haben is everything quantifiable. Your bank balance, your properties, your social score, your digital data profile.
And sign.
Sein is the essence of personhood, spirit, the free moral self. Dignity requires protecting sign from being entirely consumed and reduced by haben.
And once the chip makes us fully indexed, we risk becoming data profiles and losing our personhood.
That's the fear.
So total predictability is therefore inherently dehumanizing. Our dignity rests in part in our capacity for